I'm the one steering now. Either roll with it or roll out. That was the line, loud enough to rattle the iced mugs by the office espresso bar. When Trevor Banks, a man whose resume had more pages than his attention span, decided to torch 14 years of my work in front of 36 people. He loomed over my desk, face flushed, brand new tablet wagging like it came preloaded with moral authority. Phones stopped. Keisha froze mid-sip on her yogurt drink. Someone in logistics pretended to type, but his keyboard was all spacebar. Everyone felt the storm coming. Nobody knew its shape. I didn't argue. Didn't tear up. Didn't twitch. I looked up at Trevor, hair shellacked so hard it squeaked under the fluorescent lights, and gave him one slow nod, calm as a locked safe. Then I stood, picked up the legal pad I've used since 2012, and walked to my office. No scene. No speech. Just air. Because I knew something Trevor didn't. Quick sidebar for the folks who enjoy watching loud men trip over paperwork. Go on and follow. 88% of you lurk without subscribing, which is basically how Trevor got interim power in the first place. Silence masquerading as consent. Don't be Trevor. My office. The one Trevor swore I wouldn't need much longer. I closed the door, blinds half tilted, never look like you're hiding, and went to the back cabinet. Not the digital stuff. He'd already clipped half my logins. I mean the old 3-drawer powder coat metal beast with one sticky caster. It still smelled like toner dust and stale mints. Top drawer, HR odds and ends. Irrelevant. Middle. Compliance reports. Not yet. Bottom. Jackpot. A dusty, leather-bound binder with gold foil lettering. Southline Systems. Corporate Charter. Revised 2008. Most execs had never cracked it. Trevor probably thought Charter was a character on a TV show. But I remembered. Every clause. Every revision. Every emergency protocol we pushed through during the 2009 restructuring when a hostile bidder tried to strip our contracts pipeline. That's when the board named me acting chair in a proxy vote. Me, Aaliyah Grant. Temporary, sure, but no one ever filed the follow-up to unwind it. No one thought I'd need it. I laid the binder on my desk and flipped pages like I was defusing a device. Section 3, subsection 2.1, Board Governance and Change of Control. And there it was, the kind of power that doesn't strut, doesn't shout, doesn't care about designer loafers. Only about signatures. My name. Still binding. Still live. It felt like finding a blade in the attic right as the new king tries to lock you in the basement. In that breath, humiliation fell off me like old paint. Memory took over, of every late night I stayed to read policy, every risky vendor I flagged that Trevor later called visionary. Every time I held my tongue, not from weakness but because I was stockpiling ammunition. Let him rename teams, redraw org charts like we were a salad bar, and brag about momentum. When the real meeting came, the one with auditors, counsel, and acquisition people, someone would need a signature. And mine was still the one that counted. By morning, Trevor scheduled a mandatory leadership sync in Conference A. I learned about it when Keisha from compliance whispered over the microwave. Didn't see you on the invite, Aaliyah. Weird. Not weird. War. By 9:10 a.m., my calendar evaporated. By 9:12, my chat access on Loop was under review. By 9:20, my email suddenly suffered temporary delivery issues. At 9:30 on the dot, I got a placeholder from HR. Catch up. Transition planning. Transition does heavy lifting in corporate America. Sometimes it's a promotion. Sometimes it means you're about to be replaced by a spreadsheet and a guy named Colby who just discovered disruption on a podcast. The HR room smelled like nerves and overzealous hand sanitizer. Yolanda from HR greeted me with a brittle smile and a manila folder labeled voluntary exit options. Aaliyah, first, thank you for your years with Southline, she said, opening the folder like it might bite. We're entering a new phase and discussing realigning senior leadership for operational agility. Buzzwords. Cute, I said. Inside, A severance packet that looked like it had been drafted by a chatbot after 3 energy drinks. Vague equity language. Wobbly dates. Nothing about Cobra. Lots about support and optional early exit. Then the line she must have practiced. This could be a great time to consider what's next for you personally. Maybe a rest, maybe early retirement. You've earned it. Before I consider anything, I said, can you confirm whether the board ratified amendments to the corporate charter? Yolanda froze. I'm not sure that's within HR scope. Oh, it's in scope, I said, closing the folder gently. I can circle back with legal. Please do. I walked out with their packet in one hand and a slow burn fire in the other. Back in my office, I started stacking proof, old minutes, proxy votes, signatory logs, anything with ink and teeth. No begging IT for access, no sparring with Trevor, no performative emails to the board. This wasn't about noise. It was about receipts. By noon, I had a full printout of the 2009 restructuring packet, including the notarized proxy vote naming Aaliyah Grant, acting chair, filed and final. Not a draft. Not a memo. The real thing. I stapled it neat, slid it into a fresh crimson folder labeled Governance, Retain. Around 3, Trevor strutted past my door, clocked me working, and smirked. Everything good. Need help logging into the retirement portal? I didn't look up. I'm good, Trevor. He chuckled and kept walking. He thought the fight was finished. He didn't realize I'd just picked up the sword. By Trevor's second week, the place looked like a pop-up startup and bled like a bad budget cut. He tore through teams like drywall, renamed operations to throttle, axed document control for being too analog, and floated a rebrand to SLX United because Southline sounds like a bus depot. Posters sprouted in the break room overnight. Move. Own. Accelerate. Asterisk asterisk. Stock photos of mountaintops and gears shouting in corporate font. Then came his showpiece, a spotlighted all hands he called the Ember Briefing. Trevor paced under the beam like a carnival barker. We'll be leaner, smarter, liquid, he boomed. Think every hot company you've ever heard of, combined. Half the folks on video muted him to finish expense reports. Meanwhile, the quiet engine of Southline sputtered. Vendor payments bounced because the accounts payable lead, the one who tracked cross-border tax quirks, was redundant. Internal tools cracked after Trevor ditched our ticket system for a shiny productivity app called QuickStride that crashed during its first global update. Morale, the invisible gear everyone ignores until it snaps, evaporated. Ruth from contracts resigned after 12 years. Deshawn from systems put a notice and wrote, in his farewell thread, "Gonna find joy where servers don't scream." I kept my mouth shut. In meetings I was still technically allowed in, and the ones I forgot to be invited to. I walked the halls like a ghost with a badge. Let him wear the paper crown. The throne's legs were already wobbling. Over drip coffee at a tiny cafe off a side street that only took cash and gave you exactly 1 napkin, I met with 2 board members who still cared about more than slogans, Rhonda Miles and Glenn Carter, both black, both veterans of the last restructuring, both tired in the eyes. We didn't think it would look like this, Rhonda said, stirring her cup long after the sugar dissolved. None of us did, I said. Glenn leaned in. Is this posturing, or damage? Damage, I answered. He's performing leadership while the systems collapse. Rhonda glanced at me. And the charter? He's calling himself CEO. Did we finalize anything back in January? I didn't rush. I sipped once, set the cup down, and let the quiet stretch. Glenn's brow lifted. Aaliyah, you're still technically chair, aren't you? As far as the filings say, I replied. And I have the paperwork. No fist pounding. No big speech. Just 2 people realizing the iceberg wasn't massive, but it was exactly where it needed to be. That night I called a friend who knows where the commas go when money's on the line. Tiana Brooks, corporate counsel and a surgical mind in heels. All black brilliance, zero small talk. What clause did he break? She asked. Not yet, I said. He's circling. Then we sharpen, she replied. I scanned 5 years of board resolutions, pulled every document with my signature as acting chair, emailed timestamps, PDFs, even couriered the original charter binder. Trevor could rename rooms, claim a corner office, stage photo ops, but the deed still had my name on it. Close to midnight, I slid open the filing cabinet in my guest room and hauled out the Holy Trinity. 3 ring binders labeled by year and mood. Asterisk 2009. The year we held our breath. Asterisk 2014. CFO forgot to BCC. Asterisk strategic votes. Keep. Dust rose like it was embarrassed. Inside, minutes, roll calls, proxy forms, filed, stamped, notarized. And there it sat, sandwiched between a dull vendor motion and a legal reminder to update titles. Acting chair appointment, Aaliyah Grant. Unanimous. Filed. Never rescinded. Asterisk asterisk no sunset clause. No, until Trevor gets loud. Just binding. I went back to section 3, 2.1. In the absence of a rescinding resolution or formal reassignment, the acting chair retains unilateral authority over governance documentation, including but not limited to restructuring, acquisition, sale, or transfer of controlling interest. Plain as toner. My pen decides if this company sells. I didn't grin. My jaw set the way it does when men mistake volume for validity. Trevor had been strutting like the whole farm was his. I'd been holding the title to the land. Tucked inside the cover, I found a curling sticky note in my handwriting from years back. This saved us once. Might again. Asterisk asterisk. I let my fingers rest on it a moment. Not for drama, just to remember how many times quiet work had kept us upright while the noisiest people played at Empire. I flipped through everything again. Trevor had never filed a governance update. Never submitted a new hierarchy. Never initiated a formal board vote to replace the chair. He assumed. Loud people often do. They think the title does the work. It doesn't. The filings do. By 1 a.m., I had every relevant page scanned into a zip-labeled Exhibit B, Current Authority. I sent it to Tiana with one line. Here's the blade. She replied 7 minutes later. And he handed you the handle. Tell me when. Asterisk asterisk. I slept fine. Not from arrogance. From clarity. When the pieces lock, the plan isn't a plan anymore. It's a clock. All you do is wait for the hour to strike. The chime came fast. Trevor started whispering about acquisition talks with Harbor Ridge Capital. He told anyone who'd listen this was our next evolution, teased a transformational liquidity moment on social, and strutted around in tailored suits narrating phone calls about valuation upside loud enough to be overheard. Cute. I made one precise call to Harbor Ridge's legal liaison, Tiana's counterpart on the buyer side. Asterisk asterisk Kenya Lowell asterisk asterisk. Black, razor sharp, every word a clause. This is Kenya. Asterisk asterisk Aaliyah Grant asterisk asterisk from Southline, I said. I'm still on governance. One request ahead of the audit. Go on. Please ensure the original filed corporate charter is included in your governance documentation review. She didn't press. We'll include it. Do you want formal acknowledgement? Unnecessary. Thank you. Click. That's how you plant a bomb legally. Silent, stamped, and on the checklist. That evening, I updated my email signature. Aaliyah Grant. Chair, Board of Directors, Southline Systems. Then I opened a small cream box on my desk. Fresh cards, ordered 3 days prior on instinct. Matte, black serif, no flourish. Authority without theatre. Let Trevor rehearse for his pre-show. Let him pitch Harbor Ridge on metaphors about embers and flight. Let him talk. When their auditors cracked that charter, and they would, there would be only one name authorized to bless the deal. Mine. Monday arrived like a summons. At 8:02 a.m., Harbour Ridge's audit team walked through Southline's glass doors. 4 of them, suits pressed so sharp they could slice paper. Lead counsel. M/and a compliance. Post-acquisition integration. And the quiet one, David Lawson **, an auditor whose expression looked carved from stone. Trevor greeted them at the threshold of the command room, the founder's old corner office he'd claimed like a prize. "Welcome to command," he beamed, arms spread wide like a game show host. "You're gonna love what we've built here." I was already seated, bottom of the table, half hidden behind a pitcher of lemon water. Not introduced. Not acknowledged. Perfect. The table gleamed with glossy packets Trevor had churned out over the weekend. Leadership vision, market positioning, projected synergy benefits. Theater in 12-point font. He launched into his monologue, buzzwords tumbling out like loose change: disruption, executive agility, cultural velocity. David clicked his pen once. No smile. No reaction. Just waited. Then, "Let's begin with governance." Trevor snapped at his assistant, who rushed forward with a branded binder. "Of course. Here's our streamlined structure. Clean, agile, post-traditional." David didn't glance down. "We'll need the original corporate charter. Filed, binding." Trevor chuckled thinly. "Well, sure, but that document is mostly symbolic at this point. We've modernized. Legally binding symbols tend to matter," David said flatly, "especially for determining signatory authority over change of control." Silence fell. Trevor's assistant slipped out, returning minutes later lugging a black binder embossed in fading gold. Corporate Charter, Southline Systems. Still heavy. Still real. David flipped pages, paused at section 3, and read aloud, "Lists Aaliyah Grant as board chair." Every head swiveled. Trevor's face did a pale flush shuffle. He stammered. Looked at counsel. Looked at me. For the first time all morning. I didn't gloat. Didn't smirk. Just folded my hands. David's voice cut through. "This signature is dated, filed, never rescinded. Are there later amendments?" Harbour Ridge's liaison, Kenya Lowell, shook her head. "None on record." David closed the binder carefully. "We'll need a recess to align internally." The room didn't explode. It imploded. Trevor's jaw tightened, words collapsing before they formed. He hissed under his breath at me. "You planned this." "No," I said, leaning in just enough. "You did. You left the paperwork alive." His jaw twitched. My folder on the table suddenly looked like it might detonate. In the smaller side room, the atmosphere shifted. Gone were the posters and theatrics. Just files, pens, and people recalibrating. David slid the charter in front of me. "We'll need your written confirmation of role acceptance and any governance conditions you wish to assert." I signed with steady strokes. No flourish. Just fact. From that moment, every communication about the deal had to route through me, the chair on record. Trevor Banks had just been demoted to spectator at his own performance. He didn't even know how far the stage floor was about to drop. The next meeting was meant to be Trevor's coronation. He had photographers lined up, custom notepads printed with SLX plus Harbour Ridge, One Future. Even wore a blazer so tight it looked like it was holding his last breath in place. He strutted into the boardroom grinning like a man about to christen a yacht. "All right, team," he clapped. "Let's bring this home." But the lead auditor from Harbour Ridge rose before Trevor could start. "We've reviewed the charter. Approval must come from Chair Grant." Trevor laughed, but the sound cracked like cheap glass. "Come on, that's just a technicality. I've been running this show for months. Everyone knows it. This is a formality." Across the table, Harbour Ridge's CEO, Victor Vaughan, didn't even glance up from his notes. His voice was ice. "We don't recognize your authority here." The silence that followed wasn't corporate. It was surgical. Trevor's smile drained, his eyes darted from face to face, but no one met his gaze. Not Rhonda. Not Glenn. Not even his assistant, who pretended to fuss with the water pitcher like her life depended on it. Finally, I spoke. Calm, even. I'll approve. I slid a new term sheet across the table. Under my conditions. Victor skimmed page by page, then looked at his counsel. She nodded. Reasonable. Enforceable. Trevor's voice spiked. This is hijacking. She's been sidelined for months. This isn't how governance works. Victor raised a hand. Security appeared, 2 plainclothes professionals, polite but immovable. One leaned close to Trevor. Sir, we'll need you to step outside. Trevor stared at me, panic cracking his face. He wanted me to save him. To throw him a rope. I didn't blink. You've been relieved, I said softly. The door shut behind him with a click that felt like a gavel. The room exhaled. No cheers. No applause. Just the steady scratch of pens as signatures found paper. I initialed every page. Staff retention minimums locked in, pensions preserved, severance clawbacks carved into stone. Trevor's golden parachute reduced to tin. Glenn whispered as he signed. Next time, maybe read the fine print before you crown yourself king. Trevor was gone. The deal was no longer his circus. It was mine. The so-called finale had been Trevor's idea. A ceremonial signing, a victory lap with cameras flashing. He had ordered champagne flutes, embossed folders, even practiced his grin in the mirror. But the only spotlight left in that room fell on the charter, and on my signature. Harbour Ridge's CEO, Victor Vaughan, opened with no preamble. Approval must come from Chair Grant. Trevor tried to force a laugh, but panic bled through. I've been the acting CEO for months. Everyone knows I led this deal. This is a technicality. Victor didn't raise his eyes. We don't do business on technicalities. We do business on law. Trevor's voice faltered. He glanced around the room, searching for backup. None came. Even his closest allies stared at the table like schoolkids avoiding a teacher's question. His assistant shuffled papers just to look busy. I slid the revised agreement forward, steady and deliberate. These are the conditions under which the sale proceeds. Staff protected. Pensions untouched. Severance scaled back. Victor read line by line. His counsel nodded. Legally sound. Accepted. Trevor's last protest came out strangled. This is sabotage. Security moved without words. 2 men guided him to the door. He twisted back toward me, eyes wild. You can't. You already did, I said evenly. You ignored the ink. The door clicked shut behind him. The rest unfolded without drama. Pages turned. Pens moved. My name etched clean where it mattered. Aaliyah Grant. Chair, Board of Directors, Southline Systems. The room shifted into integration planning, voices lowering into the practical rhythm of work. I sat quietly, sipping black tea from the mug I'd brought myself. No speeches. No applause. Just law, ink, and the steady weight of authority landing where it always should have. Because victories in boardrooms don't come with fireworks. They come with patience. With signatures. With the ability to outlast the noise until the smoke clears. Trevor thought power lived in spotlights and slogans. But in the end, the company belonged to the one person who never needed to shout. Me.